Okay, so this is my yard. This is me in my backyard. I'm probably going to skip this slide and what I was going to say because to save time. So I talk about climate change wherever I go. I am really a dog with a bone about it. And I want you to know that this presentation is not for climate change deniers. It is for people who believe that climate change is real, that human activity is a big contributing factor, and who want to do something. And I do want to say that this presentation is for Democrats, Republicans, independents, and people who belong to any political party. And this slide is to help people who feel that the political situation is hopeless in the United States. The information on this slide is from a survey that was done in October 2020. So right before the November election, we know what was going on then. It shows that 82% of Republicans under the age of 54 believe in climate change and want the government to do something about it. So I just want that to sink in for a bit. So I belong to a group called Citizens Climate Lobby. It's been around since 2007. We're citizens just like you and me who want our legislators in Washington and all around the world to pass laws to stop climate change. And individual action is important, but it is not about changing light bulbs. It's about changing policy. So I ask you to hear me out. A lot of people in this meeting may have very specific ideas about how to stop climate change. What I'm going to ask you to do is to allow me to offer you possibly a different perspective. So I just want to mention that we call ourselves Citizens Climate Lobby. The word lobby has a bad reputation from paid lobbying by big business. But I just want you to know that lobbying can also be done by citizens, by people like you and me who want to make the world a better place. And in a little bit, I'm going to explain how to lobby effectively and efficiently. So I don't like talking about doom and gloom because I think it robs us of our power. And I'm hoping that this presentation will give you hope and will help us to act in a way that will make the world a better place. So I just want people to shout out at this point, how many of you are a number one? You know, you feel utterly helpless, have no idea what to do, just overwhelmed. A number two, you're doing little things, you're composting, you're recycling, you're taking care of your own backyard and your home, but that you doubt that that's enough, or do you consider yourself to be a number three? So just kind of shout it out.
Number two.
Two. Is anyone a number three? No, okay. Because if someone is a number three, I want to go back and talk to them at the end of this presentation. So I'm really happy that none of you who spoke up are a number one. A lot of people feel that way, but I'm delighted that you don't. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to a climate change simulator website created by MIT Sloan called Enroads. And first I'm going to show you a 2-minute introductory video, and then I'm going to do a demonstration showing the effects of 18 major solutions to climate change on global temperature every 20 years through 2100. So first we're going to go here.
I'm Andrew Jones of Climate Interactive, and I'll show you around Enroads, the global simulator we built with MIT Sloan to help people learn how various climate solutions, say a carbon price, would affect outcomes such as temperature. On the left is the main graph that shows coal, oil, gas, renewables, nuclear, and on the right is the main impact, the global temperature increase by 2100. Down at the bottom are various sliders. One can affect, for example, not just carbon price, but say energy efficiency in transport, energy efficiency in buildings and industry. You click the buttons and thousands of equations in a system dynamics model immediately calculate the impact. En-ROADS works in two modes. The first is basic mode, where a business person, policymaker, student, community climate leader can see many examples of climate solutions and choose one. Our team at Climate Interactive and MIT Sloan built En-ROADS with the best available climate science and energy, land use, agricultural economics with data from the IEA, the EIA, the IPCC, and comparing our results against the Energy Modeling Forum, the SSPs. The second mode is advanced mode, where a more technical user may want to set an exact carbon price. For example, here, not at $73 a ton, but exactly $35 a ton. The goal of the model is to frame and support better conversations about how to address climate change. We embed this simulator in workshops on strategy and in role-playing games. We use it to ground thinking in the best available science, focus on solutions and actions, and move beyond polarized conversations.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you the actual website, and we're going to play around with it together. I do invite you to look at En-ROADS on your own. It is a really interesting website, and you do need to look at it on your computer, not a tablet or your phone, however. So, you know, there are these two graphs on the top, and here is the average global temperature in centigrade, and these are 18 different sliders that we're going to play with. So who has a favorite climate change solution that you would like to shout out, and we'll see what it does.
Electric vehicles.
Okay, so thank you so much for saying that. That was actually one of the reasons that I put together this presentation, because everywhere I went, I would ask people what they thought would work, and a lot of people thought, I'm going to buy an electric car. That's really going to help. And it does help. You can see that if all new vehicles, all new buses, trucks, and cars were electric, that the average global temperature would drop 0.1 degree, a tenth of a degree centigrade. So a good step, but pretty surprising, right? Because everyone I talk to as I travel says, I'm going to buy an electric car. Okay, anyone else? What else does someone have?
Nuclear.
Nuclear. So I generally stay away from nuclear during the next step because it's pretty controversial. And you'll see that it is, but you know, it's a viable solution. What you will see is that it drops the average global temperature a tenth of 1 degree centigrade. So again, a good step, but not something, not the silver bullet.
But that's all?
That's it.
Oh.
That's it.
And is that the same as the electric car?
So they're two different solutions. But yes, you're right. They both drop the average global temperature by a tenth of 1 degree.
Wow.
We're a gardening group, right? Let's say, let's plant 1 trillion trees. Let's plant trees in every possible part of the earth where trees can grow. I love trees. Everyone in this room loves trees.
Yes.
Look at that. It drops the average global temperature a tenth of 1 degree. And a little bit later in the presentation, I'm going to explain why some of these solutions work better than others. Who else has a favorite solution?
Methane.
Methane capture, excellent. So let's say, I don't think we can completely stop methane because a lot of animals emit methane that we won't be able to stop, but we could bring it down. So stopping our methane emissions, not completely, but almost, will drop the average global temperature 0.4 degrees centigrade. So a good step, not the silver bullet though, right? Who else?
What about less beef and red meat production?
So what that talks about is methane. That's
Oh, I
right
see.
here.
Okay.
Okay.
A decreased
else?
population.
Solar?
Okay, population. So I try to stay away from population because it's pretty controversial, but let's go ahead and drop it. 1/10 of 1 degree, right? So I have to tell you, I do want to interject that the two things that we can do to help drop population growth are actually not controversial. One of them is keeping girls in school, and the other is making birth control available. So those solutions are not controversial, but talking about population control is. Who else has another solution?
Renewables.
Renewables, I love it. Okay, let's see what this will do. 0.2 of a degree. So I have to tell you, when I saw this, I thought, oh, let's get rid of coal. Let's almost get rid of oil. I don't think we can completely do it. And let's get rid of methane, also known as natural gas. And I thought this was going to do it. But look at that. These three solutions only reduce the average global temperature by 1/2 of 1 degree. And I was shocked at that. I really thought this is it because it's the cause of the problem, right? Anyone else have a deforestation? Okay, so I don't think we can completely stop cutting down trees, but let's almost do it. And it's 1/10 of 1 degree. Okay, go ahead.
What is the bioenergy? I'm not sure what all is included in that and what effect does that have?
So bioenergy, now I am not an expert on bioenergy. Bioenergy, I believe, means that you're using fuel from plants that are grown to basically drive cars and make heat and things like that. So this barely does anything. And there are lots of reasons for that. So now I'm going to show you this solution.
What
do you
does that
see?
actually mean? What does it mean, carbon price?
Yep. So I had a whole slide to answer that question.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get to that. Okay. But I want you to see that this one solution drops the average global temperature a full degree. And in a little bit, I'm going to explain why that is. But I want you to see that. And you can take my word for it now and then go back and play with Enroads. And you can see that, that there is no other single solution that even comes close to this. Okay.
What is the new zero carbon?
So new zero carbon means that you're getting carbon-based energy from something that's it's not going to emit carbon. So these are breakthrough. These are things that are not invented, but that we probably can come up with. And if you do that alone, it helps. It drops the average global temperature 0.2 degrees centigrade. So let's go back and put a price on carbon. Let's go ahead and get rid of coal. Let's almost get rid of oil. Let's almost get rid of natural gas. Let's go ahead and use bioenergy. Let's go ahead and use renewables. I'm going to stay away from nuclear because it's controversial for a lot of people. Let's go ahead and use new zero carbon. Let's make transportation more energy efficient. Let's make sure that all of our new cars, buses, and trucks are electric. Let's make new buildings energy efficient. And let's make sure that all of the new buildings don't have gas, they're only electric. I'm going to stay away from population and economic growth because it's pretty controversial. Let's try not cutting down as many trees. Let's go ahead and stop industry and farms from emitting as much methane. Let's go ahead and plant those trillion trees. And now we're down to 1.6 degrees centigrade increase from where it was pre-industrial. And by the way, our temperature has already increased 1 degree centigrade. So we're talking about 0.6 higher than where we are right now. And then let's say maybe in about 10 years, some super smart group of people figure out how to sequester carbon and are able to scale it up. And now we're down to 1.3 degrees centigrade over where it was pre-industrial.
You ought to look at this, Tony. It's fascinating.
So thank you. Thank you for saying that, whoever said that. So there are a couple of things I want you to see in En-ROADS. I want you to see that putting a price on carbon-based energy is by far, the single most effective way to stop climate change. I want you to also see that we need all possible solutions. And I want you to see that there is hope, that it is possible to drop global temperatures and still have a livable world. So before I say anything else, I want all of us to stop and think about what would you love about being a part of a world on track to make this happen. And maybe what you can do is post it in the chat and the moderator can shout out a few of your answers.
Okay, I'm unmuted, waiting for you ladies to type in.
What would it feel like to live in a world where you know we can deal with this?
A little hope for our grandchildren.
Yes, thank you so much for that. My daughter's considering not having children. Yeah, that's big.
For me, it would feel like I had done the responsible thing for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not-
so go ahead.
I was going to say about the grandchildren again, it's not really the next generation, it's further ahead.
Mhm.
Well, it's happening right now.
Not
I mean,
too
the situation in your area, the water situation. Yeah.
So Cheryl,
So
Cheryl types, it would be great. It would feel great, but just how possible can these goals be reached? And Anita types, what about using paper products made of bamboo? Does that help?
So I think the answer to that is that we all need to do whatever we can. This En-ROADS is about global solutions and national policies. At the local level, we do need to do what we can. We do still need to drive electric cars. We do still need no gas in new construction. We all need energy efficiency, and all of that needs to be done. But it is very important that you are here in this meeting and developing a greater understanding of how we can make this happen. And that's what I'm here to do, is to teach you how to do that.
So we have some more responses. LNC is saying reduce, reuse, recycle, and repurpose. Christy.
So wait. So let me just stop you for a second, because
Sure.
these are solutions that happen on the local level. What I was asking is how does this make you feel to see that there is the possibility that we can have a livable world, right? That it is really important that you touch those emotions, that you feel the hope, because out of those emotions comes the power and strength to act. That's what I'm asking you to do. So let me go ahead and move on. So what does putting a price on carbon mean? Enroads shows us that it's the single most effective way to stop climate change. But what does it mean? And I do want you to know that it means charging a fee on all carbon-based energy as it's brought out of the ground or imported into the country. The fee would start out small and would increase over time and become significant. Over time, the cost of buying oil and gas would increase relative to green energy. It would make green energy much more or less expensive relative to carbon-based energy, and it would make the transition away from oil and gas faster. And I just want to make sure that we all know what I mean by carbon-based energy. We mean oil, gas, diesel, coal, and methane, which is also known as natural gas. And I want you to know that the US government already keeps track of how much carbon-based energy is brought out of the ground and imported. So this is not something that is difficult to do. And it's the oil and gas companies that would pay the fee. And I also want to be sure that you understand why putting a price on carbon is the single most effective way to stop climate change. Does anyone have any ideas?
Well, sure, because the cost to the companies are just going to be passed on to the consumer.
Right, that's right. And when something costs more, people look for a cheaper product and they may use less. Money changes people's behavior faster than anything else. And when I say use less, you know, if, for example, instead of using a clothes dryer, if you live in a place where the sun is shining, you could hang your clothes up instead of using the dryer. Another reason might not be so intuitive. It's because nothing needs to be invented and no infrastructure needs to be built. You pass one law and within a few months, it takes effect. And if you look at all of those other solutions, every one of them, all of them require infrastructure, planning, and time. So for example, time for trees to grow. Nuclear, think about how much time that takes. All of those other solutions require significant infrastructure and planning. A third reason is when the price structure is changed in a predictable way, it will jumpstart research into new products. And, you know, the best example I can think of is who would have thought of the internet before it was invented, right? So there are things out there that will happen when the price structure is changed that we cannot imagine. And another reason that also takes a while to think about is that if you look at all of those other solutions, which are not as effective, but they all require separate legislation, and each piece of legislation takes a lot of time. Putting a price on carbon is one piece of legislation that jumpstarts all of the other solutions. So I want you to think for a second about plastic. Plastic is made out of oil and gas. You make oil and gas more expensive, plastic becomes more expensive. Imagine plastic pollution going away. Now, how do you put a price on carbon? And this is really important. You do it by building political will to pass a law in the House and the Senate in Washington, or even in California, because we have such a large economy. So right now we have a sweet spot for action. We've got a president and vice president who believe in climate change and are committed to doing something. We have a slim majority of legislators in the Senate and in the House who want to do something about climate change, but this may not last long. The midterm elections, which are in November 2022, typically result in a shift in the balance of power. And when that happens, the golden window of opportunity closes. So I don't know how aware you are of what happens in the typical midterm election, but about 30 to 40 legislators will be elected, new legislators will be elected in the opposite party from the party in the White House. And the way that generally goes is that party, the majority of the people in that party they say they don't believe in climate change. So you can imagine what's going to happen to legislation at that point. So there is a bipartisan bill in Congress right now called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. It's known as HR 2307. And this bill puts a price on carbon, and 100% of the fee that is collected is distributed equally to all people living in the United States. Because the government doesn't keep the money, it doesn't grow government, which should appeal to conservative voters. It is the socially just form of pricing carbon because lower and most middle income people would receive more money back than what they would pay out for increased costs in the form of a monthly check. So high income people who fly more and buy more would pay more, but they would get the same amount in that monthly check as you and I would. So they would pay the lion's share of these fees, but they can afford it. And no one's telling them where to get their energy. They can change too. This is a market solution. The fee increases every year in a predictable, transparent way. Business can prepare and innovate, and no one is telling you how to get your energy. And the monthly check goes directly to you, not a government program. So I want to summarize. HR 2307 is the best tool to get us to net zero by 2050. Net zero means that we're removing greenhouse gases at the same rate we're producing them. It will make clean energy relatively affordable. It will put money in everyone's pockets with no restrictions. It will be good for your health and will save lives. And it fits conservative and liberal values. And there's a border adjustment. And this is the part that helps the rest of the world to also put a price on carbon. When goods are imported from a country that doesn't have this fee, a fee or tariff is charged, and that money is also returned to you. It feels like a tariff to the country that's importing the goods into the United States, and this provides an incentive for other countries to do the same. And I want to give you a real life example of this. The EU already has a price on carbon and is set to start a border adjustment soon. They haven't set a date yet, but soon. The EU is Russia's major trading partner. And now Russia is talking about putting a price on carbon. China's talking about putting a price on carbon. Canada already has a price on carbon. So as the second largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, US leadership is essential to address the problem on global climate change. And I'm going to tell you the most important thing you can do for the climate. We need to build political will to get this bill, HR 2307, passed. And I need your help. So there are a lot of things that you can do. There's some examples on this slide. You can speak at local government meetings, ask them to create a resolution in favor of HR 2307. If you work for a large corporation, you can talk to your employer and ask them to do the same, write a letter, a public letter in favor of HR 2307. If you do work for a large corporation, I'm asking you to please reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with people in Citizens Climate Lobby in Washington, and they can help reach out to your employer. You can reach out to local radio stations and TV stations asking for programming about this. For reasons I just don't understand. People are just beginning to talk about putting a price on carbon. They're not talking about this bill. They're not talking about Citizens Climate Lobby, and we need public awareness. So if you do have any connections to local radio stations and TV stations, contact me. We can work on it together. You can write letters to the editor. Just try to get media coverage. You can talk to friends and family and ask them to watch this presentation. I offer this presentation as live Zoom meetings twice a week, every Monday night and every Friday night. I'll post that in the chat. You can just talk about climate change over the dinner table. But it is really important that we all talk about climate change and that we don't sweep it under the carpet, because this is not going to go away unless we work hard to build the political will to make this happen. Now, if you don't have time, the bandwidth for the things in the other slides, there is another way. You can email or call your legislators before you even get out of bed. And I'm going to share a link with you to make this really easy. Before I do that, I want to explain how your letters and calls are processed and how to make them count. And I want you to know I've done my homework to put this together. I got this information from interviewing legislator aides, who are the people who tally and report constituent calls and letters. And I've talked to a lot of them. And in fact, I just spoke with Senator Padilla's office and Senator Feinstein's office last week, and nothing has changed. And this is what they all say. Senators and representatives are being flooded with calls and emails. When you contact them, provide your information in the shortest and easiest way possible. I've been told the aides read the subject line of an email and the first two sentences, and that's it. The most effective way to catch their attention is through quantity of calls and emails. So I have to say, a lot of people, myself included, have been inspired to write long personal emails, spending hours laboring over it and writing it. But the most effective way to bring attention to your issue is to keep it short and keep it daily or weekly. Form letters sent frequently are more effective than long personal letters because they're more efficient. So again, form emails are just as effective as personal emails. You want to keep it fast and you want to keep it frequent. And I just need you to really get that. Do not send an email, do not call once. You've got to make it at least every week. So this is the link. The first time you can either scan, oops, move this down. You can either scan the QR code on this slide with your phone and fill it out. And I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second and post this link in the chat so that all of you can fill that out. And I want you to know I'm going to do it with you. I want all of us to do this together. I'm going to go back and put that other slide up because there are people who are going to be watching the recording, and I want them to be able to, oops, I want them to be able to do this as well. So we're all going to do this together. And I want us to shout out when we're done, okay?
Done.
I'm done too. I want you to know that the first time you do this, you'll have to fill in your address and your phone number. You need your address because CCL will choose who your legislators are, your 2 senators and your representative. And the legislative offices require your phone number in order to be sure that you're a real person. Once you do this once on a computer, all of that information will autofill, and all you need to do is to hit the send button. It takes 10 seconds. 10 seconds. If you're doing it on your phone, I have an iPhone, so I have to fill it in the information every time. So it takes about a minute. How's everybody doing? People who are watching the recording, what I want you to do is to copy down the website or scan the QR code with your phone and fill out the form on your phone. You can take a screenshot of this slide, but the people who are watching the recording, you've got to do the action. Simply having the knowledge and not acting is not good enough, because we all have to take responsibility for creating the political will to stop this nightmare. So I'm going to stop talking and I'll wait for people to shout out when they're done.
Why do we have to put our phone number?
Because the legislative offices need to know that you're a real person.
Okay,
No
I'm
one is
done.
going to, no
I'm
one is
done.
going to call you. I just want to, no one's going to call you. No one's going to contact you.
I'm done.
Great. Great. So actually I lied. Someone is going to contact you. The legislator offices are going to send you an email saying that they received your letter. That's it. So is this easy,
Yes.
right? It's incredibly easy. And this is how we make this happen.
I'm done, but I'm curious. I called my state legislature person on SB 9 and SB 10, and I said, should I keep calling every day? And they said, no, they only count your vote once. So I'm kind of curious. So they count the emails more frequently than phone calls?
So that's a really interesting comment. I would love to know who your legislator is and call them myself. When I have called every office, I've asked that. And what they say is, yes, they do keep track of who is contacting them. But what I've heard is that they still count every contact. They don't count the contacts on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're contacting them Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, they're only going to count one. But they count every other day of the week. Someone has to be in the office working to count them. What I've been told is that they do count them if you send it in every day or every week, because someone who's doing that is really passionate about the issue. And they know that they're talking to friends and family. And when it comes time to vote, those people are going to decide how to vote based on those issues. And they also know that most people are not going to bother to contact their offices. It literally is about 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 50 people who will actually be moved to action. And what I'm sharing with you today is to how to make the most of your action and how to get this done. The person who said that, do you know who your legislator is?
State level, not the federal. It was on SB 9 and SB 10, in which
Can
they're
you give me a
voting on
name?
now. Bergman, Mark Bergman.
Okay. I'll call them.
Because that's what I was told by the person. I said, should I call back every day? And he said, no, we're only going to count your vote once.
Okay, so I have to tell you, they may say that to reduce their workload, because I've heard that they don't particularly like it. They're very busy tallying all these calls and emails. But I will definitely look into that. Thank you for sharing that. You are the first person to say that, because I have interviewed people working at the state level and the federal level.
I'm very active in calling or emailing, so it's good to know I should keep it up. Thank you.
Yes, Cheryl, keep it up. Yeah. Any other comments? So
is there resistance? I mean, what are the arguments against this bill?
So what's interesting is that a lot of the green organizations do not like this bill because they want the government to keep some of the money for their special projects. And the problem I have with that is that that people are left out of special projects. And this bill is the socially just way to do this. You know, it's the way to offset the increased costs and then some. And so, you know, if the government starts keeping a large chunk of this money, then it's going to hurt people's pocketbooks and they're not going to like it. And I can't blame them. You know, if you don't have the money and it costs more to fill up your gas tank and you can't afford to buy a new car, what are you going to do? You get angry. This bill prevents all of that from happening. And I want you to know that economists, even Republican economists and climatologists have said that this bill would work. So we just need to bump up the awareness of this bill. And I really invite you to share this presentation with your friends and family and have them join a live presentation, which I do twice a week, every week. If you have a family that lives back east, because the times on the live presentations are in Pacific time, put together 8, 10, people more. And I'll set up a Zoom meeting specifically for your group, and you can stay on after I leave and continue it like a family reunion. If you have coworkers, anything, I will do it. You just give me a time and a day, and I'll put together a presentation just for you. But we have to get this done. And we've got about 6 months. So this is the group I belong to, Citizens Climate Lobby. I invite you to join them. I'm in the San Mateo chapter, which you would be in the Santa Clara chapter, so a different chapter. If you're interested in looking at how much you would actually pay out in the first year for increased costs and how much you would get back in the monthly check, you can look at this, this link. And that's it. So any questions, any comments, anything at all, throw it at me.
If we want to do this more than once and we just did it on our cell phone, how do we get back to it?
So I posted the link in the chat.
In the chat.
And I will post it again. And what you can do is you can copy that. If you bring your cursor up to the last post in the chat, you'll see to the right, there are 3 little dots. And if you click on that, it says copy, right? Can you see that?
No.
Okay, so are you looking at the
Oh,
chat?
wait, I'm looking at the bottom, maybe. No?
So look at the last post in the chat. Okay, right next to that little box where I put the link, there are 3 little dots. Click on those 3 dots. A pop-up will come up that says copy. Click on that and just go directly to your web browser, your email, just put it somewhere in your computer so you can find it again, and then paste that into your browser, your Chrome or your whatever.
I don't have the 3. Oh, yes, I see the 3 dots. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
So I really hope that this presentation has shown you a path forward and given you hope and given you a global perspective on how we really can stop climate change. I mean, I do want to be realistic. The temperature is going to go up a little bit more from where it is now. because the carbon dioxide that's in our atmosphere will stay there for thousands of years. And, you know, it's not, I'm hoping that in 50 years, we'll still have a livable world. And I'm hopeful that in 100 years, we'll be back below where we are right now. We'll have global temperatures below where we are right now, because I just feel so strongly that things will be invented and that things will happen that we just can't imagine right now. And I just keep going back to computers and the internet. I mean, who would have guessed that this could be invented, right? And there is more stuff like this that will happen. It's not going to happen right away, but in about 100 years, I do believe that we'll get global temperatures below where they are now. And I have to tell you, you know, I am a Habitat California native gardener, and I love the native plants and the pollinators and the animals that live around here. And they had nothing to do with this. And all of the habitat restoration that I work on 3 or 4 hours every day, you know, it's what restores my brain and replenishes my energy and love of life. You know, I know that what I'm doing is going to be destroyed by climate change, because all the habitat restoration we do anywhere is nothing compared to the devastation caused by climate change, that we just have to get this done. And I'm sorry, I'm getting very emotional, but it is dear to my heart. And I beg you, please keep up this action. What I do is I paste that link into my calendar as a weekly reminder, as a reoccurring reminder. I get up in the morning, I look at my calendar, I see what I have to do, I click on that link, bam, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine. Very interesting.
You are very, very welcome. And I think that, you know, when people talk about what they're doing for climate change, and they talk about composting and recycling and buying an electric car, please direct them to this meeting. And let me just post in the chat the regular meetings that I offer. And you can copy that as well. And because it is more fun going to a live presentation. You know, there's more interaction. You can ask questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question. How I have no quarrel with this program, this bill, but my question is, how is that different than the option in the original setup that you had, where you could toy with different options? The option of zero carbon, how is that different? Because isn't that what this bill subscribes to get to?
This bill subscribes to all of those solutions. This bill jumpstarts all of them.
I see. Because of the cost involved in getting people awake, it wakes them up.
Because there are 5 reasons I gave for why this bill is the single most effective solution. Well, it jumpstarts. Go ahead.
In the state of California, there is something like that going on right now.
There's cap and trade. There's cap and trade. It doesn't work. The fee is too low. There's no money. It doesn't change your behavior or my behavior. And the fee is way too low. And it just doesn't work.
So the fee is too low.
The fee's too low. No money is, the fee's too low. No money is collected that is given back to you. It's a completely different way of looking at this in the most ineffective, and it's people just don't understand it. It's so complex. It's just,
But there's a
and
climate credit in your PG&E bill. Isn't that where that comes from?
Priscilla, how much does that change your behavior?
Well, I have an electric car, have solar on my roof, and I'm not worried about the cost. I just feel I need to do something that alerts other people to something's going on here. It does change my behavior, but my behavior was changed before that. So
Bingo. Bingo. If you were like 99% of the people out there who make decisions on what to buy and how to live based on money and money alone, it changes their behavior zero. It changes corporations' behavior zero.
money alone. Is that what you just said?
That when you know, when you have to fill up your car, you drive an electric car, I do too. But when you know you have to go to the gas station and pay an extra $2, $3 to fill up your gas tank, and you're getting money back every month, and you know, there's going to be other things happening that the government's going to supply. Lower income people are going to be offered used electric vehicles that are subsidized. There's all this stuff in the works. You're going to choose an electric car.
Well, let's hope so.
And remember that when the price structure is changed in a predictable, transparent way, corporations will change how they get their energy, and they will put more money into research and development for green energy solutions. They will. That's what they do.
So that's not happening with cap and trade, because it's like a flea bite.
Exactly. And I want you to know that I organized, I do high school outreach, and the high schoolers that I work with did a climate change action rally on Saturday in Central Park in San Mateo. Josh Becker was there, who's our state senator, and Kevin Mullen was there. And they both said that the cap and trade does nothing.
Mm-hmm. And then I have a question about the computer software that you're using in the where you can toggle all the different options. Isn't there a lot? I mean, how did you arrive at the fact? I mean, what information went in to get this big change in?
Yeah, so I want you to know that MIT Enroads worked on that website for 14 years. There's a lot of science in there. And that's why I showed the 2-minute introductory video. This presentation is not just about En-ROADS. I invite you to look up En-ROADS. It's EN-ROADS. And again, you have to look at it on your computer, not your phone or tablet. And if you type this in, you will, it's called Climate Interactive. And there are courses that they offer. There's 1-hour courses. There's an hour every week. There's all kinds of different things. There is so much information embedded in that website that I didn't even get into, but it is an incredible website. I made it look really simple because I was just skimming the surface. But this is not a presentation about En-ROADS. I used En-ROADS to demonstrate something.
Thank you. I appreciate this program a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Your program.
Yes. What's the little heart sign? Yeah.
I hope everyone is feeling that way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you do about climate change.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to volunteer, I mean, I literally devote my life to this at this point. I mean, 40 hours a week, and I mean 40 hours a week. So if anybody is interested in helping, the first thing I would do is to join Citizens Climate Lobby. Please reach out to me. I'll put my my email in the chat. I can do a lot more if I have people who are willing to help. I can train you how to do how to do high school outreach in your area. And these kids are thirsty for something, and they are so much fun to work with. You can start doing presentations like this yourself. I'll share my slides with you. So Cynthia asked, how is the money back feature calculated? It's the same amount for each adult. It's a half amount for each child living in the United States. Yes, there are some people who don't want to be located by the government, and I don't have an answer for that. You don't have to be a US citizen. But if you don't get that first check, and by the way, in this particular bill, HR 3207, the dividend check starts a month before the fee starts, so that no one's feeling a hardship. Oh, I just realized my email just went to Christy and not to everybody. Hold on.
Elaine,
yeah.
is this a physical check that is sent to people?
Yes. Yep. So, if you are someone who doesn't want to be found by the government, you might not get a check, but that's your choosing. I don't think anyone has any way to get around that.
Well, I was just thinking that a physical check is really a good reminder to people that what's going on. It's a bit more it's a bit more present in people's mind if they actually get a physical check each time. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's a physical check that would arrive in the mail. And I'm sure you could opt for, having it deposited directly, but yes, that's the plan. Because I agree with you, Jean. I think a physical check means more to people.
Okay, thank you very much again. This was wonderful.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come in, because the more we're able to spread this information, the more likely it is that we can get this done. And we literally have 6 months, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so Jean, did you want to go ahead with the breakout rooms?